All right, praise God. We are going through chapter 3 of Job. Last time we talked about a note in verse 6 talking about the night. As for that night, let darkness seize upon it. Let it not be joined unto the days of the year. Let it not come into the numbers of the months. I mean, just read it on face value. Think about it. The tribulation period, not counting a particular period of time and how God views it, maybe God quantifies it in a different way. Just think about it on that surface level, or maybe symbolic level, I don't know. And then what he says in this note is because God is not going to count the years in Daniel's 70th week, the tribulation. So why have we not entered into the rapture? Because time may be different in God's eyes, or maybe time got confused. I talked about the Dark Age conspiracy. Who knows? God knows when the end is coming. And when the time is right. It feels right to me. We see some last hurrahs in this age, you know. We've seen a steady decline in our culture and society. If you work in retail, you really recognize this with people. A lot of evil people you deal with. Praise God, you have the patience to deal with it, but it's a struggle a lot of times. But strong last hurrahs like Donald Trump trying to make America great again. You know, these are good concepts. Give us a golden age around here. Make everybody thriving and successful. Let the peasants enjoy a few more years. You know, those are positive messages. And then in England, just yesterday or 2 days ago, there's a guy proclaiming Restore Britain. His name is Lowe, I think. Really good speech he had about the situation we're all in, you know. England is being conquered from within by a bunch of traitors. That chapter, Ezekiel chapter 33, I think that's also talking about that, you know. Shouldn't we in one voice agree with this guy about restoring Britain? Does that make sense? It makes sense to me. I don't want a bunch of traitor communists importing a bunch of people that want to kill me into the country and then take away any of our business opportunities while at the same time letting them have free money. You know, it doesn't make sense, and it makes me pretty hopeless about the future. You know, as far as my hope in our society and culture right now, am I positive and hopeful and I'm going to retire at 60? I can do it in 23 years or so. It's possible. Do you really think so? The way they're handing out money to people, you know? Most likely I'm going to be murdered by somebody at work, you know? And then nobody will care when I get murdered. God will. And thank God. And then I get to join him. And then he's my hope, you know? I don't have much hope in my age 60 retirement. I don't think that's possible. But anyway, Lord, however you want to do it and however you want to use me, but I don't have a lot of hope in our future in the society. It all points to the tribulation period and the end of time. And it's looking like that every day. This Restore Britain thing, I think it's too little too late. I think they've got all the commies in power, and the commies are just bringing in more traitors. And they're literally being conquered from within. I think a lot of that is happening in the United States, but Donald Trump is trying to fight against it. But literally, we have traitors in our midst. And the response should be far more serious than what it is. It should be like Ezekiel 33. We all should be reflecting on the situation and act on it and engage. But we don't. We're all cowards. And we're not taking what's ours. Scary. Scary times. Okay. Next note we're looking at is on verse 8. Let them curse it that curse the day who are ready to raise up their mourning. Here's the note. Every word of this verse is attacked in one form or another by godly accredited scholars. See Bible Believers Commentary on Job, Bible Baptist Bookstore, 1998, pages 38 through 39. So let's look at it. Why is it being attacked? Let them curse it that curse the day who are ready to raise up their mourning. I mean, like I said at the start, when we started reading this chapter, I've been there with being depressed, and I can identify with this. Let them curse it that curse the day who are ready to raise up their mourning. I mean, it's too dark for most people, but I think I get it, but it's hard to explain. If you've never been there, maybe you have the perfect life and you've never been in a rough spot, but thinking about the tribulation period, it's going to be bad. This Restore Britain thing and the MAGA movement, when it all fails, which if you have a bunch of commie traitors controlling the vote so that your vote doesn't even count, and then they just put in a bunch of traitors again, they make, let's say worst case scenario, they make that horse face Cortez, let's make her president. It's how you ask that question, how did that happen? How is that possible that even 10 people voted for that horse face? I guess that's kind of nasty, I'm sorry. That monster. Yeah, I guess that's insulting to horses, really. That demon-occupied monstrosity, how did even 10 people vote for her? Because they didn't, a bunch of people that they bring in here, and they say, hey, since we brought you in here, man, you gotta vote for the demon lady, okay? Okay, I'll go in there and I'll vote. No IDs required. That would be racist to have an ID, and then, they get like 10 homeless people to come in and actually vote for her, and then they're like, and then the news report says the next day, they're like, well, it was a sweeping landslide. They acquired 10 bajillion votes. I mean, even more than the voting capacity was possible. It's unbelievable. What a landslide against J.D. Vance. And then, obviously, all they're doing is just putting the little USB drive in there and just, oh man, dude, I don't know how this happened. And then they just transfer all the votes to demon-occupied monstrosity woman. And there it is. So, what does that have to do with what we're talking about? I'm sorry. Well, okay, we can still use that. Because recognize when that happens, when that monstrosity gets elected, and then she passes a bunch of laws, because she'll have complete control. They got commies and traitors in the midst of everything. You know, Lindsay is just bringing them all in there. Hi, Lindsey Graham. He's just bringing in more traitors and more commies. Just bring them all in. And they're all in there passing a bunch of weird laws. When that happens, don't be surprised. That's what I get out of this verse. That's what's going to happen in the tribulation period. That's what people need to understand. They want to hold on to hope that some man is going to make everything great again, you know. But he can't. It's not. It's prophecy is being fulfilled, and the end is all around us. That's what I get out of this verse. Anyway, let's take a break.